We're going to look at some division, and I say division involving zero. We'll work our way up to the actually three different possible ways we divide involving zero. But first, we say we cannot divide by zero. We're going to look at why. We're going to look at how we divide, what does division mean, and then we'll throw in zero in a few places and see why we say cannot divide by zero, and then how that's actually, sometimes the results are different than other times. So if we take 6 divided by 3, and of course the notation for division, there's several different ways. Sometimes we start with just the little division sign, or we can think of it as a fraction. 6 divided by 3 equals 2. You may want to check that on your calculator, right? Well, why can we say 6 divided by 3 is 2? Okay. Division is the inverse operation of multiply, and we say 3 times 2 equals 6. Or, kind of more in general, if we say 6 divided by 3 is what? Technically, we're really looking at 3 times what will equal 6. So keep that in mind as we throw a 0 in here. And our next example will be 6 divided by 0. What can we say about 6 divided by 0? Okay. We say this is, we say this is undefined. Now, let's see why in terms of our fraction. We say 6 divided by 0 is what? Changing that over into the multiplication, we would be saying 0 times what equals 6. And that's not possible, so we just say it's undefined. Okay. So a lot of times we'll say anything divided by 0 is undefined. Well, that is not quite a correct, accurate way to describe that, but what we need to say is anything divided by 0, well, anything except 0 divided by 0 is undefined. We'll see here in a second what 0 in the numerator will turn out to give us. But definitely the idea, dividing by 0, we say it's undefined. Now, what if we do 0 divided by something else? 0 divided by 3, for instance, would be what? Okay, would be the value of 0, because, again, thinking 0 divided by 3 equals what? We would turn it around and say 3 times what equals 0, and that would be 0. 3 times 0 equals 0. So 0 divided by 3 is going to equal 0. And sometimes we might say, well, 0 divided by anything is going to be 0. But there's a certain situation where that's not true either. 0 divided by anything except 0 is 0. So to kind of sum up these properties with 0, if we say some number a divided by 0 is undefined if a does not equal 0. 3 divided by 0, negative 2 divided by 0. 0 divided by 0, well, that's a little tricky one. We'll look at that here in just a second. And then 0 divided by some number is 0, again, as long as a does not equal 0. Okay. So this leads us up to what about 0 divided by 0? And today we'll be looking at a lot of limits, evaluating limits that if we just plug in the value, we're going to end up with 0 divided by 0. Okay. So we say 0 divided by 0 is indeterminate. We can't figure out what that's going to equal. Sometimes this may equal 0. Like our property 0 divided by anything is 0, or anything except 0. Okay. 0 divided by some number is 0, as long as we're not dividing by 0. Sometimes this turns out to be undefined. A number divided by 0 is undefined as long as the numerator is not 0. Well, let's take a look at the definition of division. Division turned into a multiplication problem, this would be saying what? Zero times something equals 0. Exactly. This could be anything and everything. Could be 0, could be 1, could be negative 1 million. This is why we say 0 divided by 0 is indeterminate. We can't really figure out what that value is without some more information. Okay? So this is why we say 0 divided by 0, well, it may be anything. It still may be undefined. It may equal 0, or it may be any other value. But when we have 0 divided by anything except 0, that will equal 0. And anything except 0 divided by 0 will be undefined. But specifically, 0 divided by 0 is indeterminate.